Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all of the questions that you've asked over the course of the week, and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. First of all, I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in this week. If you have watched any of my videos, I really appreciate it. And don't forget that if you want to get your question answered, please ask it by Wednesday. I typically film these on a Wednesday, which means if you want to get your question answered, try and answer it in the next couple of days if you can. If I miss your question, I'm very sorry. I will get to it the following week. Just ask it down below. And don't forget, I don't ever pre-think the answers through to these questions. I'm looking at them and giving my raw, unfiltered opinion. If I think there's any questions that I think might make a better, longer video, I will do that at some point down the line. With that all being said, though, there's a ton of questions here by the looks of it, which is very good. So let's get into it with this week's Q&A. Okay, so the first question is from Daniel Tadichi8986, who says, you told us that Extractor is your favourite trick. Could you tell us in what routine you use it mostly? Absolutely. If you don't know what we're talking about here, we're talking about the Extractor deck from Alakazam, an incredible gimmick deck. I use it for a couple of different ways. Well, actually, a few different ways, and I'll get to the other ways in a minute. But traditionally, the two main ways that I've done it in a walk-around situation is kind of the main handling, which is where you have someone pick a card, they no force, they sign it, and the card gets put back into the deck. There is no force. The deck gets put away, and you give a wallet out to someone to hold on to. You then tell them what the name of their card is, and when you open up the wallet, the card's in the wallet. That's the kind of the main, what I think of the main routine. And then kind of the more advanced routine from the Extractor deck 2, where the card ends up. So you've taken a card from a red deck, and it ends up in a sealed blue deck in the position which is in new deck order. So, you know, let's say you said the Seven of Hearts. The Seven of Hearts that they picked would be in that blue deck in the position where the Seven of Hearts would be, but it's the signed card from the red deck. That's more of a parlor routine because it's difficult to do multiple times in one night. But those are the two routines that primarily I've done. However, and here's a bit of a scoop for you guys, Alakazam are going to be re-releasing the Extractor deck with brand new routines at some point in 2024. They have shown me some of the routines. It's amazing. And I'll be contributing to that project as well. So I'm actually currently working on other routines with the Extractor deck. I've been working them in over the last few weeks, and I'm going to be working them in over the next few months, so that when the Extractor deck is re-released, I will have a few routines on there of my own, which are going to be very different to anything that you've seen with the Extractor deck. So look out for that. That's a little scoop. Excuse me. That's a little scoop for you. Is coming soon in 2024. Okay, so the next question is from Darren Bain, who says, question, following Ian's question you answered on the 29th of October, are your forthcoming deck releases? I recall you previously talking about 2 credit card related effects you were planning to release. Do you have any update on release dates for these? I believe one was with Penguin, and I can't remember if the other one was with Alakazam, Murphy's, or AN other. Cheers. Yeah, so I've kind of got 3, actually. So one is with Penguin, and that has been filmed. It has been filmed, and speaking to Dalton, who does a lot of the video editing for Penguin, I believe that's due to come out fairly shortly. I know he said that he was working on the trailer for it, and that's normally a good sign that something's coming out soon. But that's been done. That got filmed a few months ago with Penguin. That's completely out of my hands as to when that's coming out. I've got another one coming out with Murphy's Magic, and that's been on the cards for a couple of years. Murphy's tend to work slow. The whole industry works slow. The one thing that you begin to realise as a creator is just how long it takes to get something to market. It is not a quick process at all. It's a very slow process. The only reason it seems like there's tricks coming out all the time for me is I'm constantly working on routines, and I have been for the last 2.5 years. So the stuff that's coming out now is routines that I'd been working on years ago, right? If that kind of makes sense. But yeah, the Murphy's one, I would say, would come out at some point in 2024. But we're not even at the prototype stage with that yet. We've got the credit card prototypes, but there's something else that needs to be prototyped to go along with it as well. And me and Alakazam are in the very early stages of doing something credit card related as well. I'm going to be exploring that more in November when I go and do some filming in Alakazam. I'm going to be doing some filming in November. And when I go and do that, we'll be exploring that project a lot more. But we're in the early stages of putting something together. So yeah, there are 3 credit card tricks. One's Murphy's, one's Penguin, that's done. That'll definitely be the first one out. And then there's another one that we're in the early stages with Alakazam. So hopefully that helps answer your question. Okay, so the next question is from RDG Tex, who says, hello, Greg. Hello, I own several Himber wallets in my Magic collection, and I've noticed a common limitation with all of them. They can only hold a load with a thickness of two or a maximum of 3 playing cards. I'm curious if there's a device similar to a Himber wallet that can facilitate a packet switch involving a dozen or so cards. I've searched extensively, but haven't found anything suitable. As an alternative, I've been honing my skills in the Babel technique for an in-the-hand packet switch, which I've found to be highly effective and convincing. However, I'm still keen on finding a utility device for this purpose. My aim is to seemingly convince the audience that the packet hasn't changed during the switch. I greatly appreciate your advice on packet switching devices, and also interested in if you've got any in learning if you have any prepared methods for executing packet switches. Okay, that's a great question. So first of all, TCC did something. TCC, let's have a look here. TCC definitely have like a wooden box, and it's, let's have a look here. Let's turn the brightness up on this for a second. They definitely have this wooden boxy thing that was really good. I'm trying to find it. Is that it? Nope. Give me a second. No. This is where I'm making it up, right? This is where I'm definitely making it up. They have anything box. That's the one. Is that the one? No, that's more of a drawer box. They've got... can't find it. They've got this box. Maybe if I search box. Okay. The air box. No, that's not it. They've got a box. Maybe somebody in the comments can help me. They've got a box, and what the box does is it's just kind of like it's like a Himber wallet built into a wooden box, and you just literally turn it over, and when you do, it switches the side, and you can literally keep like up to 12, 15 cards on each side. And it's very, very good. I think it's what you're looking for, to be perfectly honest, but I can't find it anywhere. I'm looking on their site, but they now have so much stuff, it's almost impossible to see. I definitely reviewed it. So if you have a look through the old reviews, there's a good chance that there's going to be something on there. But there's so many things here, it's very, very difficult for me to find. It's not the... I keep gravitating back to this one here, but it's definitely not that one. Yeah, I don't know is the answer, unfortunately. I wish I could help you. But yeah, there's definitely a box. There's definitely a box that TCC put together. And the box itself has kind of 2 sections, and it's a little bit like a Himber wallet, and you could easily get 15 in each side, not a problem at all. So have a look at that. Maybe somebody can give you some advice on that down below. In terms of packet switches, if you're wanting to switch 12 cards for 12 cards for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A couple of different options here. One option that I've always liked is, and this is from an old book, I want to say Raw Road to Card Magic, but it might not be. If you have 12 cards in kind of a left-hand classic palm, which you can easily get if you've bottom palm them from the deck. And then you take the packet that you want to switch out. Okay, this is kind of discrepant, but it looks really good. What you do is you use this hand to square up the packet that you want to switch out, and this is being kept hidden in the hand. And then all you're going to do is you're just going to square them up and put them down, and in that action you've switched them. And all that's happening is that these are being held here. You come over and palm these, and you grab this packet and carry on squaring up. Now that looks kind of obvious. If I just did that, it kind of looks very obvious, right? But the way to make it deceptive is that you've got these held out here. This hand looks natural because of the squaring process. The larger action of turning to the left hides the smaller action of the switch happening, right? And then you put that down there. And it's possible to do it in the other direction as well, so you can palm it from this hand to this hand. But I prefer doing it the other way. So that's a great switch. It's very deceptive. I've used that an awful lot. You could also do... you know, I mean, if you're using 12 cards, it's very easy to masquerade 24 cards as 12. So you could have 12 cards in Gambler's Cop. Have these 12 cards. I don't know the context of the routine that you're using, unfortunately. But you could pick up this packet, adding the Gambler's Cop cards, but keeping a break in between them. And if you keep your hands cozy, they won't even realise, you know, it just looks like you've picked up the packet, but you've got this big break in between the packets. And then take a cloth and put the cloth over like that. And so you take the cloth and you cover it over, but as you cover it over, I haven't got a cloth here with me, but as you cover it over, you clip those 12 there as you come away, and you take them into kind of like a gambler's palm. As you cover up. So the whole thing would be here. You've got those in Gambler's Cop. You take them into this hand holding a break. The cloth comes over and you just steal those away. And they're left holding the cloth with the 12 cards in it. But the 12 cards are being switched in, right? Talking about Gambler's Cop, you could do the same thing but without a handkerchief. So you could have these cards here like this. And you're holding them together. And as I say, when you're holding them together, as long as you keep them like this, they're not going to see anything. And then you can just come over and palm the top one out as you spread them out onto the table. So you've done the switch. So in essence, it's add and then spread them out onto the table, and you've switched the one packet for the other packet. So this packet's now here, which is literally just a case of having those in Gambler's Cop, picking these up, putting them together, holding a break, and then palming the top lot as you put those out like that. That's another switch. And then obviously, I don't know the context of the routine, unfortunately, but if you've got the deck in play and you've got the 12 cards that you want to switch in face up on top of the deck with a break or with a, you know, breather crimp so you can get the break easily, you could just pick these up here, come up here like this, spread them face up, and just turn everything over, and then just deal the 12 cards out and you switch them. So there's a few different ways of actually switching one packet for another using any of those techniques. They'd work. But in terms of devices that'll do that for you, that TCC box is a really good shout. That would be a really good shout. The switcheroo won't do 12 cards, but it'll easily do like 4, 5, 6 cards. You can have them sticking out your top pocket and you can switch them for another. I mean, to be honest, you don't need a switcheroo. If you're going to switch 12 cards, if you've got a top pocket there, just put a divider in there, have the 12 cards in the back of the divider, take the other 12 cards, put them in the front, and then lift up the ones at the back. You could achieve the same thing without a switcheroo, to be perfectly honest. Other devices, you could... There's an old envelope switch that Scott Alexander used in a... he used it in a Cards Across Superfly. And the idea is that you have a stack of envelopes. I'm just trying to remember it now. What's the exact method? You have a stack of envelopes and you have the 12 cards that you want to switch in one of the envelopes on the stack. So you've got this stack of envelopes and the top envelope has a stack of has 12 envelopes in it. then there's one loose envelope on top. So you take the envelope off and you have them put those 12 cards in, which they do, and they seal it up, and this is already sealed up. Is that right? No, that's on the bottom. Sorry. Okay. So the 12 cards are in an envelope that's on the bottom of a stack. So you've got a stack of envelopes. The bottom one is sealed with 12 cards in it. So you have these stacks of envelopes and you show them all to be empty, and they take one and they take 12 cards and put them in the envelope and seal it shut, and you put it on top of the stack. Then as you put the stack down onto the table, you've obviously switched the envelope, because what's happened is you've just turned everything over. So now, and you don't have to turn it over onto a table, you can just drop your hand to the side and bring your hand back up again, and it's going to effectively have done the same thing with, nobody's going to notice anything. But you can then hand them the envelope back again. You just need to have a reason for bringing that envelope on top of the stack in order to turn everything over. And on that subject, Mark Leverage had in his book Forever Flapping, he had a really nice envelope switch that you might be able to use it for this as well. I'm trying to think if you could, but yeah, I think you'd be able to, which used pay envelopes, and you had 12 cards. Well, he used it for a credit card, but if you got the right type of envelopes, you'd have pay envelopes, or, like small credit card sized envelopes. You put 12 cards in one, and that would go on the face of the stack with one envelope on top. You'd hand the envelope to them, they'd put the 12 cards in the envelope, and then what happens is that envelope comes back and goes on the face, but it goes underneath the flap of the card that's on the face. So it goes underneath. You've actually got the two flaps together, and you have them sign the flaps. So they're actually signing the flap of the second envelope. And then you turn over and you pull out that flap they've just signed, and it's effectively pulling out the envelope second from the face, and which is the one with the cards in that you want to switch in. They then sign the back, and they keep it. They seal it, and you don't have to do anything. You've switched everything in that you need to switch in. So it's a bit difficult because I don't know the context of the routine, but that's a few different approaches that you could go in terms of how to switch packets of cards. Hopefully that helps. Okay, so the next question is from Andy Put 94. Hey, how you doing? Last few weeks I haven't had a question, but now I'm back. Good to have you back. Thank you very much. You gave Matt an Amverdi mental die. Yes, I did. I'm looking to buy one, but I'd also like to know if you have the mental die, the one with red, white and blue dice. Yes. Which one are you recommending? They probably have different routines on them, and I thought maybe Craig can help clear things up about the differences as to which one to buy. I mean, they're both good. I don't think that there's a massive advantage of having 3 dice over 1 dice. When you're dealing with 3 dice, you can link it up to a thumper. But realistically, the way that you're going to get that read is with a little receiver, which you can hide in a pack of cards, or you can palm, and it's going to tell you the 3 numbers that they roll. But the disadvantage is I have to have that receiver. I need to look at that receiver somehow, right? With the Amverdi die, I don't have to look at anything. I don't need anything in my hand because it's working off a thumper. It's working off vibration. So when they roll a 3, all I have to do is feel the vibration, 1, 2, 3. I know that's a 3, and I don't need to do anything else, right? So from a point of view of practicality, I think the Amverdi die is a lot more practical because you're not needing to look at something. Now, are there routines you can do with the mental dice that you can't do with Amverdi that require the use of 3 dice? Yes. Is it really cool that you can give 3 people a dice and you can have all 3 roll them and you know immediately which one, who's got what and what number they're rolling? Absolutely, but you can kind of do that with the Amverdi die. You can give a dice to somebody and say, roll it, have a look at the number. Have you got it? Yep. Roll it, have a look at it. You give the dice to someone else, roll it. Can you remember the number? Yeah. Give the die to someone else, roll it. Can you remember the number? Yeah. And immediately, as long as you can remember 3 numbers, you've got all the information. So I don't see massive advantages over the Amverdi die compared to the, with the mental dice as opposed to the Amverdi die. But I think that the big disadvantage, which is that you need a reader, is too much of a disadvantage versus the practicality of the thumper method that's used with the Amverdi die, which is why I suggested to Matt that he use an Amverdi die and not the mental die. That was the reason, because I think that It's a more practical prop for a real world performer, and the focus with Matt was trying to get him out there doing gigs for real people. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Hopefully that makes sense. But thanks for the question. Okay, so the next question, again from Andy Put Magic, is, I heard you talk about a Christmas trick with Alakazam and that it's a little bit like Monsters. Is it the same project but with Christmas characters or something different? Or can't you say too much about it, which I also understand and respect? The Christmas trick and the Monsters trick was kind of envisaged in my head at the same time, right? I had the idea of Monsters and how great would it be as a Halloween trick to have like this tool that will enable you to do tons of different routines around iconic monsters as opposed to just one routine. But at the same time, I realized that you could also apply this to Christmas as well. Since then, we've had so many. Monsters has blown up. Like, Monsters has been really popular, which is amazing. So many people have loved it, and we've had requests for superhero themes and kids show themes. So many different themes. People are just loving Monsters, and they realise that it can be used in so many different ways. But the Christmas thing was was envisaged at the same time, and it's not about Christmas characters. It's based on films, because one of the things that people argue about at Christmas more than anything else is films. You know, how many times do you hear people go, well, Die Hard is a Christmas movie? So the Christmas version is going to be themed around the 16 most popular Christmas movies of all time, which I think is an amazing hook for Christmas gigs. You know, talking about Christmas films. Hey, do you like watching films at Christmas? What's your favourite film? Well, I've actually got here the 16 most popular films of all time. We're going to try and do something, and then you kind of go into it. I just love that idea, I really do. And the artwork, if you thought the artwork for Monsters was good, wait till you see the artwork for the Christmas version. Now, there are going to be other routines. Without giving too much away, there's a whole new tutorial. There's going to be a massive crossover, because everything that works with Monsters works with the Christmas project. However, there's going to be other routines that specifically just work for the Christmas project. Without giving too much away, it's got something slightly different to it. So yeah, there's going to be and you know, it was discussed once upon a time. Should we just use the Monsters tutorial? And it was very quickly decided that no. We want to put a brand new tutorial together for the Christmas project, because the routines are going to be different presentationally. You know, seeing me talk about, hey, you know, seeing you talk about how the Christmas, how I presented the Monsters routines would be very different to how the Christmas routines are presented. So it's a whole new tutorial with new routines, but the concept is still the same. And, you know, if anybody's watching this, if you like the idea of Monsters and you have an idea for how you want to see this evolve, and if there's something else that you'd like us to look at and see if we can apply the Monsters concept to that idea, please let me know. I've had loads of people suggest stuff. We've had logos for businesses, like iconic logos for businesses, which I thought was really good. We've had superheroes, like I said. We've had kids characters for a kids entertainer, which I thought was quite good as well. So let me know. But yeah, the Christmas one, we're filming it. Nemi Phoenix filmed the Halloween version and did a great job, I thought. Anybody who's seen Monsters, I think that you'll agree that the tutorial was fantastic. Well, he's filming the Christmas one as well, and I believe it's slated to be filmed in the next week, because we want to try and get it out by the end of November, because it's a Christmas trick, right? You don't want to be waiting until much after the end of November in order to be able to do it. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Okay, again, the next question from Andy Put is, what do you think of the new TV special about letting the moon disappear David Copperfield is planning on doing? Do you think he got the idea from Gru from Despicable Me? Very much likely, you never know. When he told the minions he's going to steal the moon. Would be awesome if he got the yellow chaotic minion to make it disappear. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's David Copperfield's style. I think it's going to be amazing. I think that David and his team have said that they've been working on this for 30 years. I also think that David is very protective of his brand. and I don't think he would do anything that would be in any way jeopardize his brand. And he hasn't done a TV special since early 2000s, and he's going to want this to look absolutely amazing. And also, he's getting on. He's not the youngest guy in the world now, so this might be his legacy piece. This might be the thing that everybody talks about. So I believe that he believes that this is going to be the greatest thing that he's ever done. And I believe it could be. And I believe that David Copperfield is one of the greatest magicians that ever lived. And the fact that he has achieved so much is just testament to that. I do worry that the world is a very different place now than when he was doing his TV specials. And I do worry about social media. You know, when he made the Statue of Liberty disappear, for example, you know, without going into method, I'm sure that most magicians that are watching this know the method of how the Statue of Liberty disappeared. I have a feeling that if he made the Statue of Liberty disappear using that method today, he would have, within 5 seconds, YouTube videos hypothesizing about how it's done, exposure videos. He'd have memes created. He would have national TV, you know, going, hey, David Copperfield, Statue of Liberty vanished, exposed by Twitter or something like that. I think it would have been a very different situation. When he made the Statue of Liberty disappear, there wasn't social media, there wasn't Twitter, there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't Instagram, there wasn't TikTok. And because of that, you know, it was very controllable in terms of the reactions. It's a very different environment online now than it was back in the day. And I think that there's people out there that just want to try and figure out how things work, and press want to look for a negative story to spin more than a positive story a lot of the time, to be perfectly honest. And this is going to be huge, and everyone's going to be talking about this. And I think that, I mean, he's probably thought about this, he probably has, but the landscape in which he is now operating is a very different landscape than it was in early 2000s. And I worry that there's going to be a ton of memes, and there's going to be a ton of videos that are just going to go viral, and they're going to eclipse, pardon the pun, they're going to eclipse the incredibleness of the routine. And I have a feeling it's going to be very epic. It's going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to be one of those things where people are going to look at it and go, oh my God, I can't believe he's done that. But then, yeah, I just worry that it's going to get eclipsed, and it's going to have a mockery made of it. And the other thing is, you know, with the Statue of Liberty, it was controllable. And what I mean by that is he had those people there, and they were a testament to show that it's vanished. That, you know, people in a different country or a different state in America couldn't turn around and say, well, I can still see it. The problem with making the moon disappear is, I'm assuming he's going to do it live. And if he does do it live, you know, it's very easy for people all around the world, or, you know, people all over the same country or wherever. It's very easy for them to go, well, actually, no, it's still there. I can see it out my window, right? So it's going to be very interesting. I'm sure his team have thought through all of this. I'm sure they have. And it's all very exciting. David Copperfield's back on TV. He's doing a special. It's going to be amazing. And like I say, he is the greatest living magician and illusionist alive today. And he's got some very clever people that he surrounds himself with that I'm fairly sure he's thought this through. But I just worry that the environment, the landscape in which that he's doing this is very different to what it was back in the day. Okay, so the next question is from Carton Stop, who says, hey Craig, love the channel. Are you planning on reviewing the $500 World's Greatest Card Trick by Hector Mancha? It's caused some controversy in the community, and I'd love to hear your opinion. No, I'm not planning on reviewing it at all, because I don't want to spend $500 on a card trick. You know, I spend a lot of money on this channel, and to review props and tricks, and I will continue to spend a lot of money on this channel. However, I'm drawing a line at spending $500 on a card trick. Look, Hector Mancha is one of the greatest magicians alive today. He's a FISM winner. Yeah, I'm not the person that can say anything negative about this guy at all, because at the end of the day, he's proven over and over again that he is one of the best in the world. What I will say, however, is if I'm going to spend $500 on a card trick, and to be clear, I've spent more than $500 on a card trick in the past, it has to be the sort of trick where I feel it's really special. And honestly, from a layman's point of view, just watching the performance on Fool Us, watching the trailer to the trick, the same effect could be replicated to an audience using an invisible deck. That's just a fact. Yes, would it be as clean? No, because it just wouldn't be as clean, because, you know, the way that Hector did it, he had one card in a glass, and that card ended up being the card that they named. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful routine. But honestly, if I did it with an invisible deck, and I said, hey, what's the card? 7 of diamonds. Well, this deck's been here the whole time. One card turned over in this deck. It's the 7 of diamonds. I think a week later, even a couple of days later, the audience would remember that as one card in an envelope, in a glass. I don't think there's going to be very much difference. And if I'm spending $500 on a card trick, and like I say, I've spent more than $500 on tricks for my show, or for Ryland's show. You know, I've just bought the missing piece for Ryland's show for the finale of his new show. You know, which is over $1,000. And I bought that because it was something very, very special. And it was perfect for Ryland, whose entire show is about toys and games. You know, incorporating a jigsaw into that is great. So I've got no problem spending the money if I think that it's worth it. I just don't think that that trick is worth it. I think it's a good trick, but at the end of the day, it's a predicted card routine. And it can be replicated. And if you're performing for magicians and you do that routine, that's great. Although, having said that, honestly, based on that performance, and again, I'm not the person that can speak negatively about Hector Mancha, because let's be honest, he's amazing, right? He's a Thyssen winner. But watching that Fool Us performance, I don't really understand why Penn and Teller were fooled. You know, I watched the performance, and, you know, Penn and Teller were going, hey, did you hide it behind the woman? Did you hide it behind Alison or whatever it was, I think, from memory? I didn't even think that at all. I mean, the way that he was holding the phone was very cozy, right? And there was, you know, it was fairly obvious to me that was the method, because A, why would you ring somebody up on FaceTime if the phone wasn't useful? He could have just got somebody in the audience to name a card. Yeah, that's how you kind of figure out how a trick works, right? You look at a prop and you think, well, why is that prop there? Well, okay, he says it's there to FaceTime somebody, but in reality, let's be honest, that's going to serve a purpose. And also, the handling was quite cozy when he went over to the card and he was holding the phone. I think it's fairly obvious to anybody that was watching how that worked, and I don't understand why Penn and Teller especially didn't jump to that conclusion. Instead, he thought that it was hiding behind Alison. I just didn't get that. I just don't. There's tricks that have been on Penn and Teller that have fooled them and also not fooled them that I would happily pay for. Hell, Quantum Logic by Tom Stone didn't fool Penn and Teller. I paid £2,000 4 or 5 years ago for that. It's sitting over there. It's in my cabaret show. Not a problem. More than happy to spend the money on something like that. But I'm not spending $500 on a card trick that I can do with an invisible deck. And yeah, people are going to turn around to me and say, but you can get a one-on-one lesson with Hector Mancha, and that's worth $500 alone. A one-on-one lesson with Hector Mancha would be worth $500 if I could speak to him about stuff that I wanted to learn from him. But the purpose of the one-on-one lesson with Hector Mancha is not for me to pick his brain and talk about anything I want to talk about. It's to learn a card trick that I don't particularly want to learn because I don't think it would fit my persona in my show. And if it did fit my persona, I've got other ways that I could achieve it. If it was, hey, you pay $500, you get to learn this trick, Hector Mancha will go through it, and then he'll spend a few hours talking about whatever else that you want to talk about with him, maybe then it'll be worth it. But I can't review it. I mean, this is not a review. I'm not reviewing it because I don't own it. But you asked the question, so I'm answering the question. I'm not going to buy it for those reasons. And I wouldn't have said anything. I've been quiet about it. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because you've asked the question. But yeah, I just don't think it's worth $500. And I've got, you know, if I'm going to spend $500 on something, I'd rather spend $500 on something that I think is worth more than that particular card trick. Okay, so the next question is from over 50 overweight, who says, "Hi Craig, great content, thank you so much. Just one question. Learning liquid metal but can't find a decent, easy one to bend. The ones I have, you need to be like the Hulk to do the routine. Where can you find some in the UK?" David Penn is the guy to go. He does the liquid forks, World Magic Shop. World Magic Shop. There we go, worldmagicshop.com. Forks, there's even a section at the top, forks. There you go, worldmagicshop.com. He's got them in stock right now. £23.99 for 50 forks. Now back in stock, available for immediate shipment. So yeah, those are the forks I use. I do liquid metal an awful lot. And I use the liquid forks from David Penn. They're the best forks that I've ever found, and they bend very, very easily. So there you go. I would suggest that you go for that. I would suggest you go for the liquid forks. Go to worldmagicshop.com and click on forks, and you will see them right there, and you can get them and start with them immediately. Okay, so the next question is from Alessandro Pericoli, who says, "Hi Craig, how are you? I'm very good, Alexandra. I hope you're okay. I have a question about the Nightshade coin set. Will it be possible to perform a copper, silver, brass routine with that set, or do I need to order a specific set from Roy? Thanks." The Nightshade coin set doesn't come with the gaffs to do a copper, silver, brass. However, there is a copper, silver, brass on the project. So I go through how to do a copper, silver, brass. There's like 40 routines. One of those routines is copper, silver, brass, or it's actually technically a 2 copper, 1 silver. So a copper, silver, brass is where you have a Chinese coin, a silver coin, and a copper coin. And you have a 2-for-1 transposition. The 2 copper, 1 silver is basically the same thing, but you have 2 copper coins and 1 silver coin, and the 2 coppers and 1 silver change places. It's technically a copper silver. It's technically a 2 copper, 1 silver, which is very similar to a copper, silver, brass. But the method behind it is very different to your traditional copper, silver, brass. So you know, if you're expecting to do the traditional Doc Eason style copper, silver, brass routine, you're not going to be able to do that because that's not the gaffs that are used in the Nightshade coin set. However, you have got a really cool routine that from a layman's point of view looks just like a copper, silver, brass or 2 copper, 1 silver, but the method is very different. So hopefully that makes sense. You'll find more out when you buy the Nightshade coin set. Okay, so the next question is from Dion Littlebutt. Littlebutt, sorry. I've heard you speak very highly of Jeff Hobson. If, when you do your lecture tour in the US, make sure you hit Jeff Hobson's place, Marvin's Magic in La Quinta, California. This is a self-serving comment. I live close. Definitely. I'm a huge Jeff Hobson fan. Question, who's your favourite Cups and Balls performer? Who's your favourite Chop Cup performer? I'm looking to improve on these routines. Cups and Balls, Tommy Wonder, David Regal, Michael Amar, Di Vernon, David Williamson. Chop Cup, obviously the original Don Allen Chop Cup routine. Mark James, Paul Daniels, obviously. Trying to think. Is there anyone else with the Chop Cup that I really, really rate? I'd say Mark James is the best in the world, as far as I'm considered. Now, Paul Daniels is no longer here. I don't think many people do Chop Cup as good as Mark James. Nemid Phoenix has a really good... If you're ever at a Magic convention and Nemid's there, get Nemid to show you his Chop Cup routine. It's designed for a real-world worker. It's quick. It's over very, very quickly, but it has massive impact on the audience. So, yeah, I'd have a look at Nemid Phoenix. Maybe I can get him to do it on the Netrix at some point. But outside of that, Mark James, and obviously check out Paul Daniels. Okay, so the next question is from CJ JC010, who says, "Hi Craig, which of the two versions of the Mirage coin set would you recommend for somebody with small hands?" The $half. I mean, Ryland uses the $half set. He's used the dollar a couple of times, mainly for social media, but when he's performing in a real world situation, he uses the $half, and he's got very tiny small hands. If you've got small hands, I'd recommend the $half. If you've got big hands like my meat hooks, I'd suggest the dollar. Okay, so the next question is Jackson Bollock, who says, "Will the video on bullying in the magic industry and the identity of Mr. Blonde ever see the light of day?" Yes, at some point in the future. Unfortunately, for various reasons that I can't talk about at all, that time is not now. But at some point in the not too distant future, that video will definitely see the light of day. Next question is from David Blaine, who says, "How about some performances using the M case from Mickael Chatelain?" Don't really do the M case, to be honest. I can show you a whole bunch of routines with the boombox if you want. I do the boombox, but I don't really do the M case, unfortunately. So you're probably not going to see many routines with the M case. But if you want to see more with the boombox, let me know. Next question is from Magic Elliott. Hope you're well, buddy. What Propless Magic tricks do you like or do you do? I know you don't like Propless Mentalism, which is fair enough. But do you like any Propless tricks, thumb through ear, removing a spectator's strength, etc.? I've done the removing the spectator's strength thing in the past, and that's fun. I've also got my own Propless routine, which one day will be published, which is removing the spectator's ability to lie, which is really fun. Removing the spectator's ability to lie. Not going to say any more about that because at some point I'll put it on the Netrix, but that's one of my favourite Propless things to do ever. I've played around with Freak and all of the various different finger manipulation style routines, and they're great, but I don't really do them in the real world. It's not something that I do. Don't really do anything Propless. I'm trying to think of it. Don't really do anything Propless. How terrible is that? I do that Woody, I don't think it counts. I do that Woody Aragon thing. Woody's got this interactive trick where people hold up fingers and the entire audience end up with their fingers like that, which is quite funny. But yeah, other than that, not really. I should really maybe look into it, but no, not really many Propless stuff that I do. Okay, so the next question is Andy Putt again, who says, at Blackpool was a soft release for Ryland's first release trick. Will it be available for the public? I'm curious. Yes, it will, 100%. Like Petty Cash, which literally just got launched by Alakazam a couple of weeks ago, was launched and had a soft launch at Blackpool. They tend to do this. They'll launch it at Blackpool, hold it for a few months, and then put it out. So the trick that you're talking about is Wild Cubes. It's a fantastic trick. I do it in most walk-around sets. And it will be coming out soon. I'm not too sure when. That's up to Alakazam. But I know it'll be coming out soon. And also, Ryland's about to film. He's just come back from filming with Penguin, but he's also about to film a new project with Alakazam. So he's got his second Alakazam trick in the pipeline. And he's just done some filming for a super secret project with Penguin as well. So, kid's on fire, right? Okay, one more question from David Blaine. Regarding last week's question, thanks for responding to my question. I guess I didn't make it 100% clear. Sorry, not a problem. I don't know how you force the 3 of spades with the Imagine deck, since we dribble down and stop on any card, and that card is the one on the Quantum deck. Thanks for all your hard work. I just used a dribble force. So I just use a dribble force. So because the Imagine deck, because the cards are marked, right? The cards are marked. I know where the force card is that I'm using. A lot of the time, I'll keep it on top of the deck, because when I'm doing the previous, because when I do Quantum at the end of Imagine, I'm switching it out at the end. So I'm starting off by having someone say stop, showing them the card, telling them what the card is, doing it with the second person, doing it with the third person. So the force card is always going to stay on top, right? On top and on bottom of the deck. So what I do is after I've done the opening phases a few times, I'll just cut and hold a break. So that I've got a break above and below the force card. And then what I do is I do a dribble force. And if you don't know the dribble force, it's everywhere. It's a very popular force. You just dribble cards and you time it so they stop at the break. And I show the card. So it looks like the exact same thing that I've done every time. But obviously I'm showing them the force card. And then I go into the deck turning blank, and then I can switch it for the quantum deck, and I can have the card reappear in the deck, and all of that fun stuff. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So it's literally just having it on the top and the bottom of the deck to start, cutting the deck, and doing a dribble force. Okay, so the next question is from Daniel Tajic, who says, soon I'll have my own monthly parlor magic show called Hutter der Zeit, could be translated to Guardian of Time. The room fits 30 people and the topic will be time travel. I'm still searching for some tricks to add to my set list. Do you have an idea for a nice time travel trick without cards? Time travel trick without cards. Well, let me think. If I can be so bold as to give you a couple of ideas with cards, first of all, that are pretty cool, that would be great. I love the, what's his name? Gary Kurtz. From Unexplainable Acts, Gary Kurtz has got a version of the Ambitious card where the card, he starts off by taking a card and putting it in his back pocket, and he says that represents the unknown future. He has cards picked, he has a card picked and signed, and once it's signed, it goes in the middle. He goes back in time to when it's on top. It keeps doing that. And then once that's happened a few times, at that point, then he takes it further back in time to when the signature goes off the card, and then the card disappears, and then he says we're back before we picked a card, but then we pick a card, they pick the same card, and then the signature appears on it. It's all really cool, and then eventually the card represents the unknown future, becomes the card that's the present. It's all very complicated, but there's that. I've got a version of that as well, which has never been published. I filmed it for a project that Russ Stevens one day is going to put out. But when that we'll see, I don't know. But I filmed it with him. But I've got a version of that as well. But again, it uses cards. Future Craig of the Invisible Deck project, Visible, has the same thing. So that has a time travel element where you're speaking to yourself in the future and in the past. That's really fun and very meta, so you might want to look into that. Again, it uses cards, though, unfortunately. And any sort of version of Asywin's double exposure is great. If you look at Jasper Cherry's performance, so Jasper Cherry on America's Got Talent did a version of that using my Cheeky deck. I consulted on that routine with him, and we incorporated the Patrick Kern app that makes it look like you've gone back in time to the audience members, and that was all incorporated in there. That was cool. Have a look at that routine. But again, that uses playing cards. So those are my favourite routines that use playing cards. Especially look at the Jasper Cherry routine, because that was all based around time travel. In terms of time travel routines that don't use cards, any routine where you can go back to a particular point. So, for example, Ryland actually uses a time travel premise in his show. So he does 20th Century Silks, but he does it to music. And he says, hey, I want to talk to you about time travel. I'm going to show you that it's absolutely possible to go back in time. And I'm going to show you how, but I want you to remember this point in time. And he's got 3 handkerchiefs in a frame tied together. And he says, look, 2 green handkerchiefs with a red handkerchief tied in between them. I want you to remember this point in time, because later on, we're going to go back to this point in time. We're going to go back to this point in time. Watch this. And then the Back to the Future music comes on, and he just does this routine where he takes the handkerchiefs and unties them, leaves the 2 green handkerchiefs there, leaves the 2 red handkerchiefs there, the green handkerchief vanishes, and then appears back over there. It's a beautiful routine. It's just basically 20th Century Silks, but with a time travel theme. But so the point is, you can go backwards in time. You can create time travel premises in a show very, very easily just by having something affecting it and then eventually having it go back to that point, if that makes sense. Trying to think of anything else that's an example of that. That comes to my mind because obviously Ryland did that. Ryland's got, okay, so Time Cube. Ryland doesn't use the time travel presentation for this, but Time Cube, which has just come out from TCC, is a perfect example because you take these 3 cubes out of a box and you do something with them, but at the end, they all vanish and they go back in the box. And the whole idea is everything's going to go back to where it was at the very, very beginning, right? In fact, when Ryland did Britain's Got Talent, his semi-final was going to be, we eventually changed it for a variety of different reasons. But the semi-final piece was actually going to be him making Ant and Dec vanish. So Ant and Dec would come from the wings onto stage. He would turn Ant and Dec into full-size Lego characters. So Ant and Dec would go into this box, which is completely surrounded. You can see all the way around. Ant and Dec would go into this box and vanish and just completely disappear. But they would turn into Lego characters. So they go in the box, and then when the box is opened, Ant and Dec is still there, but they're full-size Lego characters. Then the Lego characters would walk forward and burst into a million pieces. And then when the camera panned back to the wings, Ant and Dec were back in the wings, and it was like the travel, and they were like really confused as to how they got there. And the whole point was, the whole presentation would have been that we're going to show you using Ant and Dec that time travel is possible. So there's lots of different ways that you can do it. Like a cut and restored rope is a perfect example. I'm going to take this rope, I'm going to cut it in half. Now I've got 2 pieces of rope. How do I put it back together? Well, I just have to go back in time 15 seconds before I cut the rope. That's how time travel works. Now, if I want to, I can cut it again. Now I have to go back in time 15 seconds before I cut the rope. That's how time travel works. So you can incorporate so many different props into time travel. You just kind of have to sit down and think it through. So hopefully that's given you a few ideas. So there you go, guys. That's another Q&A in the bag. Thank you once again for joining me right here on Magic TV. As normal, there's going to be a review show special later on this evening, so look out for that. And you want to see more videos like this, all you have to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Now, I'm going to be back again, like I say, with a review show special later on. I'm going to be back with a 5x5 tomorrow, and I'm going to have videos going up every single day this week. If you haven't already done so, make sure that you catch up with the Matchumentary. We're storming along and things are going really well. But I'll see you again soon. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Craig from Magic TV.